So we're back. Now I'm going to show you how to get all your isolations into Photoshop. So we isolated our black cat using the quick selection tool. We isolated our puzzle piece using the pen tool. And then I went ahead and I isolated this cat and this container. Now we need to get those all into our background so that we can create our composite. So anyway, I'm going to put the container in first. So I'm going to go to my container layer. Now there's a couple different ways to get it into Photoshop, but usually on a laptop that has a smaller screen, this way is the most convenient. So I make sure I have my background layer open and I labeled it background so that it would be easy for me to find. I'm going to go to my layers palette, and at the top there's these horizontal bars. They're called the hamburger. So I'm going to click on the hamburger and I'm going to choose duplicate layer. And I'm going to call it container so I know what it is. And I am going to put it in the background layer. Okay, so these are all the files that I have open, and I'm going to put it in background. I'm going to click OK. And when I go back to the background, there's my object. Now it's huge. It's too big, but that's okay. I can change it. So now we're going to have to start paying attention to our layers in Photoshop, and I want to be on the right layer. There is something called auto select. I don't like my auto select on, but if you like it on, you can. But I like to have control over where I'm going. Auto select will just kind of guess where you want to be. So I'm going to make sure I'm on my container layer. I also want to make sure show transform controls is checked. And now I can scale my image just by clicking and dragging in the corner. Now, if you have an older version of Photoshop, you're going to have to hold down the Shift key when you do this for it to be proportional. Let me undo that. So undo that and then edit. It's not going to let me undo it all until I hit return. Now if I undo it, I can go back. In Photoshop CC 2019, they changed it so that scale proportional is by default. If I scale holding down the Shift key in 19, I can shift and unproportionally change the size of my object, which is not what I want to do. So if you have an older version of Photoshop, be sure you hold down the Shift key when you are scaling your objects. If you don't have transform controls, you can change the size a different way. If you go to Edit, Transform, Scale, and again you can grab the corner and scale it to the size you want. You can kind of move it where you want it to make sure it's the right size, and I think right about there looks good. I'm going to hit return. So that's one. I'm going to go to my white cat, same deal, go to the hamburger, duplicate layer, and then I'm going to call it what it is so I know what it is later. And I'm going to put it in the destination document, the background. Click OK. If I go to my background layer, there it is. I'm going to make sure the move tool is selected and I can move my cat in place. I'm going to click on the transform controls. And if I can't see where the edges are, I can command minus to make my image smaller overall, and then I see that in the corner. So I can scale this down. That looks like about that size looks good. Okay, I can hit return so it stays. I'll go to my puzzle cat, same deal. Duplicate layer, name it, and put it on the background. Go back to the background. I'm on the puzzle cat layer. Move the puzzle cat over here. Now, I don't suggest you make your images much bigger, but in this case, I want to make that a little bigger, so I'm going to drag it up. I don't want to take I don't want to take something that's maybe this small and make it something like something humongous like this, because it might have a different resolution as the rest of my image. But this seems okay, so maybe about that size. Okay, so I can hit return. And then the last one, duplicate layer, black cat, put it on the background. And if I go back to my background, There's that cat, and I want it on the windowsill, so I'm going to have to scale it to be quite a bit smaller. Okay, something about like that. Looks good. Okay. So a couple little things before I move on. So the puzzle cat here, I want facing the opposite direction. So I'm going to click on that puzzle cat layer. I am going to go to Edit, Transform, and I am going to flip horizontal. And that cat flips. And I can move the cat where I want it to be because that cat is sitting on the floor. Okay. Now the black cat, I want to click on the black cat layer. There it is. It's on the windowsill. I'm going to zoom in really close. It doesn't look like it's sitting on the windowsill. It's tipped up. So I need to rotate that. So again, I make sure I'm on the layer of the black cat. I can go to Edit, Transform, and I can choose Rotate. And now I can go to a corner and my mouse turns into the little arrows that are moving one direction or the other, and I can rotate that so that looks like it is sitting on the windowsill. Now, there's still a lot to do, but that's how you get your images into your background layer and how you do some minor adjustments.